All right, we're going to talk about Dame Dash responding to Camron. Now, Dame Dash has his confidence back. He has new teeth. His teeth originally fell out just 6 months ago on Live. They fell straight out. And he looked like a crackhead when his teeth fell out. And he was trying to put them back in, but nothing can embarrass Dame Dash. You just can't. And that proves it right there. It was hard to watch, though. You know, this is a guy that a lot of us looked up to coming up. And that moment is just never going to go away. Like, Dame Dash is a big reason why Roc-A-Fella made it. He didn't take no for an answer. You need somebody like Dame Dash. But it's hard to have a business with somebody like Dame Dash because he's always right, he's never wrong, and he'll never admit his wrongs. And that's that. The Dame Dash we know today is not the Dame Dash we knew during Roc-A-Fella. And that situation took all his aura away. He got tricked out of his own company, the company he owned with Jay-Z, and he's going to say, how can I get tricked out of my own company? I willingly walked away. Well, you had no option because either it was just going to sit there and nobody was going to do anything, or you take the $5 million. He got $5 million when companies like QC that have been around for way less time and put out way less product were selling for $300 million. That's embarrassing. Even Irv Gotti got $100 million for his entire catalog and everything. You don't just sell your company for $15 million. Jay-Z had a whole backdoor deal where he was going to become the head of Def Jam, buy back the company, and he did. And then he built Roc Nation. So Dame Dash tried to do a bunch of art stuff after that. He did Control, and I thought he was going to go indie with it, but that was somebody else's idea, obviously, because it never got off the ground and he was just co-signing it. He was co-signing a bunch of stuff late, like Currency. But who doesn't want to sit down with Dame Dash if you grew up on that, right? I even had a random conversation with Dame Dash once in the park with his wife. I ran into them, introduced myself, and we talked. Who doesn't want to talk to Dame Dash? I looked up to Dame Dash at one point, and I always look up to those times because these were trailblazers. People like Dame Dash, Jay-Z, Birdman, even Diddy, Irv Gotti, and 50 Cent. These people built their own companies underneath a distributor. More so Birdman and Master P, and I would even say Dame Dash. They had more of a split where they were handling a lot of their internal stuff, though Dame Dash and them used Def Jam a little more than Cash Money used Universal. But anyway, Dame Dash is now responding to Camron, and I don't even remember how this started. These two have always had a weird relationship. Like, yes, Dame Dash did save Camron from a bad deal at Sony and brought him over to Roc-A-Fella, and kind of used his relationship with Camron to get at Jay-Z. Which didn't work because he kept saying, oh, he's going to be the president, he's going to be this and that, and none of that came together. So all of that happened and obviously ruined his relationship with Jay-Z. There was no coming back from it. There were a lot of other things that happened too, the Aaliyah situation, a bunch of stuff. So don't get in the comments going deep into all of that because this is a huge story and we're just touching on certain things. And you know later the Jay-Z and Camron beef existed for a while, and Dame Dash would tap into that every once in a while with Camron. He was also friends with Jim Jones and wasn't friends with Camron at certain points. It just all turned sour eventually. I think it was right around when Camron started his sports show, which he actually makes fun of on this podcast right here, Get 'Em. Dame Dash said, oh, how you talking about sweaty men all day? Who does this? We used to make fun of people who did that. That's just his thing. We used to make fun of people that did this and that, because that's one of the ways he thinks he's cooler than everybody. Finney says Camron has cheap teeth, calls him out for cheap suits, and listen, it is funny, don't get me wrong. You're never gonna beat Dame Dash in the snapping contest. He will make you feel very small, because he won't acknowledge his own faults. Right now he's living off his wife, but he won't acknowledge that, he'll ignore it completely and keep attacking you on other things. So he's calling out cheap suits, cheap teeth, saying you're making your living off sport now and that's corny. Meanwhile, Dame Dash can't get his streaming service off the ground, he continues to only go on other people's platforms, and he can't promote anything he's actually doing because the motor oil company didn't work, the cookies didn't work, the streaming thing didn't work, the studio thing didn't work. Everything Dame Dash touches just doesn't work. The suits, remember he had suits, he had shoes at one point. This stuff just doesn't move. Nobody wants to buy it, Which is okay, honestly. You don't have to put your name on everything either. People like Nelly showed us that. Remember, he had apple-bottom jeans and nobody even knew it was his until later. Sometimes it's better to just co-sign from a distance. I think Dame even had watches at one point, sunglasses, everything. But just because you have products doesn't mean they're successful. I can make a pair of sunglasses tomorrow and say, yeah, I got my own sunglasses line. That's cool, but who's wearing them? Who's buying them? They have to have the cool factor. You have to have other people actually wanting to consume them.
And that's where music of all genres comes in handy, because people look up to musicians for what's cool. They look up to people they genuinely respect. So yeah, Camron was teasing him yesterday, making fun of the little drunk dances he does in the studio, and Dame Dash keeps sending his artist Nicki Licky after Camron. But like, who is she to be talking about anybody, you know? But yeah, this will never end, and it is what it is. Dame Dash was even saying at one point, "Oh, let's go to the dentist for dentist. My dentist has more Ferraris than you." And that is the stupidest argument I have ever heard in my life. Dame Dash is like a 25-year-old at heart for the rest of his life, like he never really matured, you know? Bro, who cares what your dentist is driving? That just means he's robbing you more, right? It's just stupid. I think his teeth look just like Hamas's teeth. Fake teeth. Nori, all these guys have fake teeth because they never took care of them growing up. Camron had just never gotten braces. If he had gotten braces, his teeth would have been just fine. But who wants to walk around with braces at 50 years old? Nobody. So his whole rap career, he was never going to get braces. The time he could have gotten them was when he disappeared for a while. But who wants braces after 18 years old, especially if you're a rapper going on interviews all the time? But I got to give it to Styles P. He's 50 with braces and said, "I'm going to fix my teeth the right way. I'm not getting fake teeth." I respect that because that's genuinely all he needed, braces and teeth whitening, and that's it.